Hey everybody, it's Andrew back again with another video, and today I have the full review of the Lenovo Slim Pro 7, or otherwise known as the Yoga Pro 7, here for 2023. Now, I did my live unboxing of this. I did my first look review of this, of course, so if you didn't check it out, links for those videos will be in the description below. But we have a few interesting choices made here by Lenovo this year, which really ultimately results in better battery life over its predecessor, the Lenovo Slim Pro 7X, that we really loved last year, although we thought the battery life could be improved. And that's exactly what we're seeing here this time around. But there are some trade-offs. We're going to get into it and more in this review. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the Lenovo Slim Pro 7 here for 2023. Coming up. Now, before we get to the review, I just want to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by Lenovo. I'm not being sponsored by Lenovo. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Lenovo is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit is on loan from Lenovo, and once this review is done, I'll be sending it back. Now, pricing is actually really good, especially for what you're getting for this price. It's $11.99 over at Best Buy here in the US. For those interested, I'll leave a link in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. What you're getting here is the Ryzen 7 7735HS, a 14.5-inch IPS display with a 90 Hz refresh rate, and it's got the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3050, throw in 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of SSD storage, all for the price of $1199.99. Again, for those interested, I'll leave a link for that in the description below. Now, there are some key differences between the Lenovo Slim Pro 7 here for 2023 and its predecessor, the Lenovo Slim 7 Pro X from last year, 2022. Now, this is running a Ryzen 7 7735HS processor, whereas last year had a more powerful processor, the Ryzen 9 6900HS. But they both have the same graphics card, the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3050. Now, another key difference is the battery on this year's model is 73 watt hours, which is up from last year, which had 70 watt hours on that Slim 7 Pro X. Now, the other difference is going to be in the display. While they both have a 14.5-inch IPS display, this year's model is a 2.5K resolution, that's 2560 by 1600, whereas last year's model had a 3K resolution, 3072 by 1920. Another key difference is, of course, is going to be the refresh rate. This year they bumped it down to 90 Hertz, whereas last year you got it up to 120. And that's one of the reasons we're seeing better battery life this time around, although you will take a little bit of a hit in terms of the performance. We'll get into that in a little bit later in this review. Now, this is a thin and light laptop, and it comes in at 1.59 kilograms or 3.5 pounds, so definitely not the lightest in the category, but certainly light enough to take with you on the go. Portability is the name of the game here. Now, it has a storm gray finish, and you will notice the fingerprints, although not the worst I've ever seen, but definitely noticeable after a while, so you will be wiping it down. Now, as far as the chassis is concerned, I saw very little, if any, flex in the chassis, so really good build quality when it comes to this all-metal design. I'm really liking it so far. And for those wondering, yes, you can open the lid with one finger, and the screen goes back 180 degrees, as you see here, so you can get the perfect viewing angle each and every time. The hinges are on pretty good. I didn't see much screen wobble here, although a little bit, but really nothing to be concerned about. And when you're typing, it's really not distracting, so that's been pretty good. Now, as far as the keyboard itself is concerned, I'm really liking it as far as the tactility, as far as the key travel. It's very comfortable to type on for extended periods of time. No issues with that. And of course, it has those familiar smile-shaped keys we know from the Lenovo IdeaPad, Slim, and Yoga line, so nothing surprising here as far as that is concerned. And it really has a nice multi-stage backlight that allows you to get work done in a dark room and a dimly lit environment. Lights up well, easy to see the contrast, and I like the auto setting, so if you don't want to have to deal with that, it does it automatically for you. Not too shabby. And it has a glass precision touchpad, decently sized, 2-finger scrolling, all the gestures, everything worked well and responsive. It has a diving board style touchpad. It's not haptic, but it did work well nonetheless. Okay, let's check out the port selection. We're going to start off on the left side where you get an HDMI 2.1 port. And that, of course, means you can connect to a monitor with a 4K resolution up to 60 hertz. And then, of course, you get two USB Type-C ports. The first one is a USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 port. It is full function. And then next to that is a USB 4 port, which gives you 40 megabits per second. And that, of course, gives you a lot of that functionality you'd get with a Thunderbolt port on an Intel laptop. Now, I was able to connect to my Thunderbolt dock, and I was also able to connect to my Thunderbolt SSD drive. Both worked well. So far, no issues with that USB 4. Moving over to the right side is your kill switch for the webcam, your power button, and of course a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack, and finally a USB-A port to round out the ports on this laptop. All in all, a good port selection, although notably missing, there's no SD card reader. Would have been great, but of course not too surprising here with this thin and light chassis and the trend we're seeing here in 2023. But again, overall, pretty decent port selection nonetheless. Now, I already opened this up in the live unboxing, of course, of this unit. And as you can see, the SSD is user upgradable. It's M.2 PCIe Gen 4. And as you can see from these excellent reads and writes, these are certainly fast for what you need it to do. These are Gen 4 speeds that we like to see here in 2023. Now, the RAM, unfortunately, is soldered into the motherboard. It is not upgradable by the user, which is a pretty common thing now here in 2023. Now, it is 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it is running in dual channel mode. It is DDR5 RAM, and the performance of it has been good, but of course it is not user upgradable. Just keep that in mind. You're looking at Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.1. Now that card is slotted in, so if you need to upgrade it down the road, you have that option. That's always good, and the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth both working very well. I've had no issues. Now, as I mentioned in the unboxing and first look review, this has the AMD Ryzen 7 7735HS. Now, this is an 8-core, 16-thread processor based on the Zen 3 Plus architecture. Now, some of you may be a little bit disappointed and say, well, why is this not based on the Zen 4? Well, we'll expect to see laptops running the Zen 4-based architecture later this year. We don't have it quite yet. This is based on Zen 3 Plus, but the performance is actually good for what you need it to do. There's no need to worry here. It's a very efficient processor and it will perform well. And when it comes to performance, the numbers actually show that it does have pretty good single and multi-core performance as evidenced by these benchmark results. Geekbench 6 was a little bit better than last year's Slim 7 Pro X in 2022. And of course, I did run the Cinebench R23, getting a little bit better single-core performance over last year's Slim 7 Pro X. But of course, where we're seeing a decrease in performance is in the multi-core score here, the Cinebench R23, which is a heavy sustained workload, which will account for any thermal throttling or power throttling. And here you can see it did less than last year's Slim 7 Pro X. But of course, doing everyday tasks on this will be perfectly fine. Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, editing video in DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro, even 4K, it definitely can work, of course, thanks to the RTX 3050 discrete GPU that this has. Now, for those of you that want to game on this laptop, I would premise this by saying this is not a gaming laptop per se, but having the RTX 3050 certainly helps out. If you lower some of the settings, you will get playable frame rates on some of the more popular titles. Check out the Time Spy and Firestrike scores you got here, as well as the playable frame rates on some of the more popular titles. So definitely you can game when you're on your off time, when you're not doing some work with this laptop. But again, I wouldn't classify this as a gaming laptop per se. Now, as far as the thermals are concerned, I never saw it get overly hot, although there were a few hot spots, as you can see here, as far as these surface temperatures are concerned. Never too hot to the touch, but definitely can get pretty warm, as you see here. Now, as far as the fan noise is concerned, under performance mode, under heavy load, it will ramp up, and you will notice it get around 51 decibels. So definitely very noticeable under the performance mode. When you're under the balanced or under the silent mode, again, not an issue, but of course it will be an issue if you are running this under heavy load. Now, having a lower resolution, having a lower refresh rate, and going with a Ryzen 7 as opposed to a Ryzen 9 means you're going to get better battery life. And we're seeing a nice increase in battery life year over year. In fact, I'm seeing nearly 3 hours over last year's Slim 7 Pro X. That's really good, folks. I'm very happy to see that because one of the big complaints out of the otherwise great laptop from last year was the battery life. So we're definitely seeing a nice improvement year over year. And of course, the trade-off is going to be you'll get less multi-core performance as opposed to last year's model, but I'll take that slight hit in the multi-core performance to get those extra 3 hours of battery life. That's a trade I'll make any day. Now, if you're finding yourself needing to plug in the supplied power adapter, it's USB-C and gives you rapid charge. It only takes 15 minutes to give you 3 hours of runtime, and it only takes about 90 minutes or so to get you a full charge from 0 to full. And that's not too bad. Now, we already took a look at the display in my unboxing and first look review. Again, for those that didn't see that video, I'll drop a link in the description below for you to check it out. But of course, what we're looking at here is a 14.5-inch IPS display with a 2.5K resolution. That, of course, is 2560 by 1600. It also has a 90 hertz refresh rate, giving you that smooth scrolling and that fluid experience. I think 90 hertz is a good blend between having that really fluid experience and getting decent battery life. And of course, as you saw from the numbers, battery life is very good on this. Now, as far as the coverage of the color gamut, really decent here as far as doing Photoshop, Lightroom, video editing. I think it's did pretty well. And then of course, it has good color accuracy as well with a pretty low Delta E score. So very, very nice display here. And it's also a multi-touch display, so you can navigate the OS with your finger and of course, pinch to zoom and everything that comes with having a multi-touch display. It worked well. I thought it was pretty responsive. It's also a Dolby Vision display. Watching Netflix, Amazon, YouTube on this has been really good. Of course, it is a 16:10 aspect ratio, so you will get slight black bars on the top and the bottom when consuming media. That has been optimized for a 16:9 aspect ratio. But the benefit, of course, with a 16:10 aspect ratio, that means you'll do less scrolling when it comes to web browsing. You'll see more on the display. Now, one thing you need to be aware of, this is a glossy display, so you will notice some glare and reflections depending on your lighting conditions. But my overall takeaway is, for a mid-range laptop, this is a really nice IPS display. You won't be disappointed. This is the camera on the Lenovo Slim Pro 7 here for 2023. Outside North America, the Yoga Pro 7. Again, 2023. Got a full HD camera here, 1080p, 30 frames per second. It's an IR camera that allows you to log in with face recognition with Windows Hello. There is no fingerprint scanner here, so you'll have to use the camera or type in a password or passcode. Now, as far as the video quality, what do you think about it? What do you think about the audio quality of the Array mics? Let me know in the comment section below. I didn't see any of the studio effects that you get on a lot of the other laptops. I'm not sure if in this price point they wanted to include that. I'm not really sure. But what do you think about this as far as using it for Zoom, as far as work from home, and on your hybrid work needs and all that stuff? Let me know in the comments section below. Now, as far as the audio is concerned, we're looking at stereo speakers. They're 2 watts each for a total of 4 watts. It's got Dolby Atmos to help with the spatial audio. Now, let's give it a listen and let's compare it to the MacBook Pro 14, the M1 Pro that I've been using. And that, of course, has some excellent sound, some of the best, if not the best, in the business. I think it is the standard going forward here, of course. Let's give them a listen. Okay, people, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Lenovo Slim Pro 7, or otherwise known as the Yoga Pro 7 outside North America, here for 2023? Now, what's interesting is they went with the Ryzen 7 as opposed to the Ryzen 9. They went with a 2.5K display as opposed to a 3K display. They lowered the refresh rate from 120 to 90 hertz. And what that translates into is better battery life. In fact, we're seeing nearly 3 hours year over year over the Slim 7 Pro X from last year. So definitely an improvement in that regard, although you will take a little bit of a hit in terms of that multi-core performance, but in real world usage, that hit will not be very noticeable. So I'll definitely take that less performance when it comes to multi-core to get those extra 3 hours of battery life. That's a trade I'll make any day of the week. Now, as far as the other performance things you're going to know about this, it did run relatively cool and quiet, but you will notice in the performance mode, the fans will get about 51, 52 decibels. So definitely noticeable under heavy load, although I noticed in the balanced or in the optimized mode or even on the quiet mode, of course, you're not going to hear it all that much. So fan noise is not an issue other than when you're running it under heavy load in the performance mode. Like the port selection, with the notable exception of not having an SD card reader, and that USB 4 port did work with a lot of my Thunderbolt accessories, so that definitely is a welcome addition here, although both of those USB-C ports are on the left side of the unit, so that would have been nice to break them up, but no, you don't get that. I like the $1,200 price. You can get it over at Best Buy. Again, affiliate link in the description below. The negatives, of course, soldered RAM. RTX 3050 is a bit limited to 63 watts, so I'm not expecting gangbuster performance with that RTX 3050, but it definitely will give you a little bit of a boost when it comes to graphics performance. The lower multi-core performance, as we talked about. And then, of course, this is the Ryzen 7 7735HS, which is a rebranded processor based on the Zen 3 Plus architecture, not the Phoenix or the Zen 4 that we'd like to see, but that is not a big deal in real-world usage. Now, of course, battery life was the biggest problem last year with the Slim 7 Pro X. They've addressed that, although you will take a little bit of hit in terms of the performance. Not a big deal in real-world usage. You won't notice the difference. This is a laptop I can definitely recommend here for 2023. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.